I'm Ric Edelman. If your credit rating has dropped, what can you do? And if you're just starting out in your professional life, how do you stand out from other college grads? Plus, Jean gives us her insight on how you know you found the perfect job. All that and more on this edition of The Truth About Money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman. If you have a bad credit rating, how can you make it better? The answer is dollars and cents.
Hi, Rick. My name's Sarah. My question tonight is that my credit's not exactly where I'd like to see it, and I want to get it higher. So what advice do you have for someone who's trying to rebuild their credit?
Usually when people tell me that their credit record isn't as strong as they would like it to be, it's usually because they have been behaving with a lack of responsibility. Chances are you weren't making all of your payments on your credit cards. Chances are you were late. Maybe you even missed payments. Well, it's as simple as that. Stop those bad behaviors and start new good behaviors. You need to pay your bills on time, never be late, never miss a payment. Period. End of story. If you do those three things, then your credit record will automatically take care of itself, and as it does, your credit rating will rise. End of story. Well, okay, it's not the end of the story. There's one other piece. Ignore anyone who claims that they will be able to tell you how to quickly and easily improve your credit record. There are a lot of outfits on the internet and elsewhere who claim that they can give you an instant new credit record, that they can make old bad listings on your credit report vanish. All of them are frauds. They usually make their money by either getting you to pay fees up front on the promise that they'll make your life better, or they collect your personal financial information, which they then use to steal your identity, making your situation even worse. There is no quick fix. Your credit record is a result of your behavior, and only a sustained improvement in your behavior is going to fix it. And here's another question that just makes dollars and cents.
Hi, Rick. My name's Nikki. I'm 31 years old, and I'm interested in knowing the best way to invest money for my retirement.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty impressed when a 32-year-old says that she's focused on retirement planning. That's pretty exciting. The main reason it's exciting is that most 32-year-olds, their definition of long-term planning is Friday. So I think that's pretty exciting stuff. And the mere fact that you're asking that question means you're going to have a very successful financial future. So you've already accomplished the hard part, recognizing the need to get started. So how do you do it? It's real simple. If, in fact, you are saving for the long term, and in her case, we're talking 20 or 30 or 40 years from now, we know historically for the past hundreds of years, the very best place to invest is the stock market. No other asset class has made more money over long periods than stocks. Now, of course, there are lots of different kinds of stocks. There are big companies, medium-sized and small companies. There are growth companies and value companies. There are U.S. companies and foreign companies. So how do you choose? You don't. What you should do is invest in a highly diversified portfolio of mutual funds or exchange-traded funds that invest in thousands of stocks from all over the world. and invest in them on a regular basis. Figure out how much money you can afford to contribute. Maybe it's $100 a month, maybe it's $1,000 a month. It doesn't matter the amount. Whatever it is, add that money into the account on a regular basis, whether it's every paycheck or every month or every quarter, and keep doing that until you reach retirement. You'll discover that by investing on a regular, consistent basis into the stock market, you will turn around in 20 or 30 or 40 years and you'll say to yourself, I did pretty darn good. From New York's newsrooms to the Hollywood Bowl, we traveled all over the U.S. to get celebrities' take on personal finance. We asked them just one question: how long have you been working?
I've worked pretty much most of my life. I mean, I started mowing lawns when I was, I guess, 2, and a little small mower, and the grass wasn't that high either. So I have been doing that, and I still have that mower.
If you're trying to get a job, how can you make yourself stand out? That's a question I got from students at Roger Williams University.
Could you give us some advice on what companies I look for, how to start a career coming out of college right now?
Not really, because it's too diverse depending on the field you want to go into, the physical location of those organizations. There are no real rules of thumb. What you need to decide is who do you want to work for, what kind of firm, what kind of career do you want to pursue, and then cast as wide a net as possible. And be flexible, be willing to work hard, even if it isn't the ideal firm you had in mind or the ideal occupation that you had in mind, and recognize that you're paying your dues as part of trying to set yourself apart when interviewing for a job. Demonstrate that you've put some effort into it. I can't begin to tell you how many times we get job applicants, including very often for some very senior positions, where they have demonstrated absolutely no effort at learning anything about our firm. And I'm a pretty high-profile guy. It doesn't take much of a Google search to recognize that I have a national radio show and this television program, and that I've written 7 books, and I'm one of the best-selling authors in the personal finance space, with a major website. And we've had people come in for interviews and say to me that they've never heard my radio show, they've never read a book, they've never looked at my newsletter or seen my website. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how much do you really care about this organization if you haven't even bothered to find out anything about us? What you're really suggesting is you're just going through the motions. You're trying to get a job, you're being very self-centered about it, and you aren't really sure that you want to join this firm because you don't know anything about this firm. And I would also add, consider entrepreneurship. Consider starting your own business.
You've represented the importance of establishing good credit, especially while young. And besides a credit card, are there any other tools that we should utilize that are maybe also safer than a credit card to establish good credit and be able to get low and credit as we grow older?
All credit counts. So whether it's a student loan or an auto loan or a mortgage or what have you, it all counts. You need to get the credit. You need to be responsible with the credit and demonstrate to current as well as future creditors who are going to be examining your credit record that you're somebody worthy of extending credit to. So you need to do that. You need to act responsibly with it, not be flagrant or abusive with the credit. But it all counts, and it will all be on your credit record for 7 years. So every payment you make or fail to make will be on that record for 7 years. And you're going to live with the consequences for a very long time.
Which of the following is a financial asset? Savings account, real estate, stocks and bonds, education savings funds, all of the above. Take your best guess and we'll be right back with the answer.
As I told that student from Roger Williams University a few moments ago, starting your own firm is one way to enter the business world. And now, entrepreneur Sandy Miller tells us what it takes to do that. Sandy, there are a lot of people who argue that the days of the Fortune 500 are numbered, that the next level of creation is going to come from entrepreneurship, just individuals figuring out how to do nifty things all on their own.
A lot of Fortune 500 companies were started by people who were at one time entrepreneurs. I think that it's now certainly a lot easier. While the barriers have been lowered, really the fundamental question is, how do all these companies that are getting started now, how do they get to that scaled growth?
It's not enough to make a great widget. You need to be able to make a couple of million widgets to have a real impact.
You need to be solving an important problem that people will pay you for.
Well, let's talk about the one big elephant in the room, the money.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the money problem?
They raise the money themselves.
They spend their own.
It's called bootstrapping, and bootstrapping can be, include running up your credit cards,
getting a home equity line of credit,
equity line of
borrowing
credit,
from mom and dad,
friends and family money.
All of which, by the way, as a financial advisor, I would say is extraordinarily dangerous.
Right.
Because not only might your venture go broke, but now you've lost your house in the process, or you've ruined your parents' retirement because they gave you the money they were counting on for their own financial security. So if you're going to engage in bootstrapping, you really need to have your eyes wide open.
You do, and I know several startup teams that actually do consulting as the team. They hire themselves out, and so they say, well, maybe 10, 20 hours a week we'll do this.
You're describing the actress who's a waitress.
That's right.
What is the primary goal of most budding entrepreneurs? What's their end game?
In some industries, for example, acquisition is really by a bigger player.
Build your business and have somebody buy it.
Right. And that's particularly true, for example, in the medical device industry, where 80% of the companies in the medical device industry are startups. And so the vast majority of those are looking for an exit via acquisition.
What is it that you need to be mindful of as you go about the exercise of becoming an entrepreneur?
You need to have a team that brings relevant skills to addressing that problem and running that business. I mean, these are the people who are going to help shape the company. They can mean the difference between success and failure often.
While you're building your team, you don't have a lot of money. You're not going to be in a position to pay fat salaries, and many people are willing to work for what we call sweat equity. I'll trade my hours for a piece of the action. If this business does succeed, I want to enjoy that level of profit. But that's a finite number. There's only 100% of the company.
I think equity is important, but a lot of times it's just, at the end of the day, people just want to be part of the coolest things and the most exciting work.
Sandy, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Which of the following is a financial asset? The answer is E, all of the above.
Let's take a question from a listener of my weekly radio show. We are first going to Sylvia, waiting a long time on the phone.
My question is this. We live in Maryland. We have 6 kids left at home, and my husband and I have decided to try to sell our townhouse in California. We're paying $265 a month on association fees, and we need the money to fix up our house that we're living in now in Maryland. It is depreciated. And we need to be able to settle some bills and things.
Sylvia, how much is the house worth in California?
Right now, we could probably sell it for $225,000.
What is the mortgage?
Selling it. We have the buyer. She's a longtime renter.
Okay.
We try to do it without a real estate agent. She has gone to a loan officer who's asking us to pay 3 points for her to be able to qualify. And we have to do it within 30 days in order to get her some funding so she can that the government is offering her so she can actually qualify to buy the house.
Okay.
My question is, how do we do this with at least cost, and will we have to pay taxes on how the house is appreciated, the townhouse has appreciated?
Well, how long has the house been rented?
It's been rented for about 16 years, 10 years to her.
And what did you pay for the house?
We paid about $110,000.
Okay, there's going to be some tax liability potentially. The depreciation and amortization may offset that to a degree. So you need to sit down with a tax advisor who can do the calculation, because it is complicated. When you have a rental property for such a long period as you've described, you're going to have rental income, increase in market value, but that will be offset to a degree by depreciation and amortization, which will help to some effort.
Yeah, Sylvia, your first question of what's the least expensive way to sell the house, you're kind of in a unique situation, because when most people sell a house or buy a house, they do need help, and a realtor serves a very important function. Because you have the buyer, you might want to reach out to a settlement attorney and have them help you with the transaction to make sure that the contract is valid and legal. So that would be our advice, is to reach out to some real estate settlement attorneys, because you potentially have the ability to save the 6% that is typically split between realtors.
And if you don't know how to find a settlement attorney, go to the mortgage lender that you're talking to, because they work with settlement attorneys all the time to execute the transactions. So that's your best bet.
My question is, they're trying to charge us $3,000 for an attorney. Is that a going rate?
It doesn't sound unusual.
Yeah. But you need to reach out to get a second and third opinion. There's certainly no downside in doing that.
Yeah, and what you don't want to do is do this incorrectly, which could cost you either the deal itself or a lot more than $3,000 if you do it incorrectly.
Right. Let's not get so focused on pitching pennies to minimize the cost of the transaction that you blow the transaction, because it's very, very important that you get out from this property so you can focus on your life clear across the other side of the country, and that's really the key thing. So talk to a real estate agent, for a referral for a settlement attorney, or talk to your mortgage lender for a referral to the settlement attorney, and then go from there. And I think that would be the best approach. We're going to take another telephone call. Teresa, welcome to the program. How are you?
My son's freshman in college this year, and my husband and I are paying for his college right now out of our savings. And basically, we're kind of interested in whether or not what we can take off in our taxes, as well as should we continue to try to pay out of our savings, or is there some other method of which we should be paying for his college?
Let's take the tax deductibility first, Brandon.
Well, it's impossible for me to answer this question any way other than saying it depends. I mean, so there are 3 potential tax credits that you might be eligible for: the HOPE, Lifetime Learning, and the American Opportunity Tax Credit. They're all based on your income, whether or not you can take them. And then there's a 4th potential thing, which is deducting tuition and fees. So there's no way.
I don't think I'm going to be able to afford, out of any of them. My husband and I make around $130,000.
No, you probably will be eligible. The Opportunity Tax Credit, which is the largest of the 3, joint taxpayer is going to be eligible to up to $180,000 of income. So you really need to reach out to a tax advisor to look at your exact situation to give you advice on which of these credits or deductions is going to be best for your family.
So it is complicated, and go talk to a tax advisor. Let's talk about the second half of her question, Anderson. What's the best way to be paying for college? Well, let's get a couple of baseline facts. Teresa, how much money is the annual cost of your son's college?
Basically around $21,000. That includes him staying there, and he doesn't have a job, so I'm paying for everything.
Okay. So, and he's in what year of school?
A freshman. He just started. So,
and how much money do you have? How much money, Teresa, do you and your husband have in savings?
Basically, right now we have $30,000 in our one savings account, and then we might have more money coming in from an aunt that had passed away.
Okay. Any idea how much?
Maybe somewhere around 50 to 70.
Okay. So looks like they've got another couple of years, maybe all 3 years after this covered, Anderson.
Yeah, I think...
he says he wants to go on to be a physician, but I told him the first 4 was all I'm paying for.
And that's a fair commentary, by the way.
Yeah, that is a fair commentary. I think it's important, though, that you do have a conversation with your son about that cost of being a physician, what that's going to be. You might want to talk with some recently graduated physicians to see how they feel about the finances. Have him talk with them, not necessarily you. Get a feel for what kind of debt load he's going to be carrying going into residency, because that's one heck of a burden to be carrying on top of worrying about caring for people's lives, also worrying about paying for your own rent.
And how, do you have any other children, Teresa?
Yes, I have a daughter, but she is right now, she lives at home, but she basically has a job and taking care of herself for the most part.
Okay, so college is not an issue for your daughter?
Well, she's going to community college, and I've been helping her out, too.
Okay, and because this we have to recognize, very often we have parents dealing with the college issues of the child headed to college first, the oldest child, and they literally forget that there are 2 or 3 other kids coming behind them.
It's too painful to think about.
You're absolutely
it's a psychological blind spot that's there to protect us from that thing.
We have to keep all these things into consideration, because there's a third element too. Not only do we have to deal with the issue of your son's college expenses and your daughter's possible college expenses and your daughter's possible wedding expenses, but even if you do manage to pay for all of the above using your current savings, the other money you've got, and the expected inheritance from your aunt, there's another element we haven't even talked about.
Their retirement.
Anderson said it. If you take all this money and you use it on your children's colleges and weddings, where does that leave you and your husband with your need to save for retirement? So we need to take a step back and examine the ability of the family to meet all of these costs, not looking at them in a silo, but more broadly, the family's total finances both now and in the future. When you're flat broke, you can't even afford to laugh, unless, of course, you're a comic, and then it's your job to make people laugh at your expense.
I was a cop for 20 years. Never was once my integrity questioned. I never pulled a car over that had a trunk full of drugs. I never got a ton of money to let the guy go. I never had a way with money, nothing. I got kids now, I'm broke. My daughter, she wanted to get that American Girl doll, right? So I go to the place, I put it up on the counter, $250. I'm like, what? No, you got the wrong thing, and we're just getting the one doll. And they said, no, it's $250. How is that possible? She says, oh, because, it's handmade, and we got a hospital in the back. Just in case they get, broken. I'm like, you got any illegal immigrant girl dolls back there?
If you could ask a financial advisor just one question, what would it be? Here's one we hear from a lot of people. What's the biggest mistake people make when investing?
Paying too much attention to the media. They do that, and as a result, they make decisions that are not necessarily in their long-term best interests. One, selling low and buying high. We saw that happen quite a bit in 2008 with the market downturn. So we really want to make sure people work with an advisor who can keep them accountable and that can provide some objectivity along the way.
Another place you hear some interesting stuff is at work. Is your office a gossip mill that makes your skin crawl? My wife and business partner, Jean, has some insight on the perfect job in the other side of money.
The greatest gift in life is having a profession that you truly, truly love. Our work life, it's all about that personal growth. And if we're not continuing to learn about ourselves in our work environment, we'll never find that true gift of that profession that we absolutely love. When that shines through, we smile when we answer the phone. Everything we do, it's not a chore. It's fun. It makes us happy. We just love it. My great-grandfather sold fruit off of a cart, but he loved it, and and he loved his clients, but whatever we do, it doesn't matter. We just have to be happy at doing it. But then let's flip it over to somebody who's not happy with their job. This is somebody that maybe has decided that they don't have choices in life and they can't go find the ultimate job. And what I want to say to that person is encourage them to ask themselves a few questions. Am I giving this job all that I can give? Have I learned everything that I have in this job? And is it time to move on? We learn every time we change a job. We learn about ourselves, we learn about people, and that's what this is all about. That's why we're all here. We're here to constantly be learning about ourselves, and that's the joy and that's the gift.
Thanks, Jean, for reminding us that this TV show is more personal than finance. And that's our show for today. I'm Ric Edelman for The Truth About Money. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com and stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.